Welcome to Of the Ether podcast, where we help the modern intuitive connect to their body, authentic self, the ether, and beyond. I'm your host, Alyssa McDowell, Holy Fire Karuna Reiki Master and Teacher. Let's go. Hello. I am back after a little hiatus. I spent the majority of this year resting, taking a break from work, learning who I am outside of work, and also learning how to be in my feminine. But all those details are really for another day. Today, we are going to discuss what is Reiki? What does it mean? What does it do? And we're going to get into the technical aspects of what Reiki is, but also we're going to be breaking it down into what that actually means in our everyday life that's a little bit easier to understand. The first thing anyone ever asks me when I say, hey, I'm a master Reiki healer, it's, what is Reiki? What is that? And I get it because it's this unseeable force, right? Reiki is energy, and it's nothing that anyone can see. You can feel it, but in order to feel it, you have to be open to receiving and to experiencing it. And most of the population hasn't really encountered energy like Reiki before, right? We're a very westernized, colonized, non-holistic society as a whole. And Reiki is a spiritual practice. It is a holistic healing technique that was suppressed for many years in Japan. And if it wasn't for a few key healers from Hawaii that brought it to the US mainland, Reiki probably, as we know it today, would not exist. So, Reiki is, at its core, a form of energy healing. Its roots come from Japan, and it was discovered by a man named Mikao Usui. I might be saying his first name incorrectly. Usui was an avid learner. He was well-traveled. He studied medicine and psychology, religion, divination, and even psychic abilities. He worked as a civil servant. He was a journalist. He was a secretary to the head of the Department of Health and Welfare in Tokyo. So he was a really busy guy. But eventually he became interested in meditation and the practice of Zen and really strived to receive enlightenment. And during this time, people who wanted to receive enlightenment went to extremes to get there, knowing that they might not get there, right? It was kind of like a toss-up. They could try as hard as they would, but if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be, but they would be willing to do whatever necessary, whatever sacrifice necessary in order to achieve that enlightenment. And so in February of 1922, Usui traveled to a sacred mountain where he would meditate and fast as long as he needed to in order to obtain his enlightenment. And he was prepared to die for it if need be. To die or receive enlightenment, those were the options. And he was happy to do it. And so 21 days later, he was extremely weak. Obviously, he hadn't been eating for 21 days straight. And then suddenly at midnight, he stood up and a powerful light entered his mind through the top of his head, and he felt as if he'd been struck by lightning, and he fell unconscious. When he awoke, he no longer felt weak or near death. In fact, he felt full of energy. Along with this feeling, he noted this miraculous type of high frequency energy that had replaced his normal consciousness. And he knew he had received his state of enlightenment. He didn't know exactly what this meant at the time, of course, but being so excited, he ran down the mountain to tell his peers as fast as possible. But on his way down, he stumbled and he hurt his toe. And he realized that when he touched his toe and focused his mind on the hurt, that there was energy flowing through his hand, and then suddenly his toe didn't hurt anymore. His gift was healing energy, and he knew in that moment that his life's purpose was to be a healer and train others to be healers as well. There's many more details that go into this history of how Reiki started, of course. That was just the very beginning. We dig into that further if you ever participate in one of my classes, specifically Reiki Level 1, where we talk about how Reiki has evolved specifically, because Reiki has always been an evolving modality. It started small. They added things over time that were necessary. There were upgrades that took place. So if you do want to learn more about that, you can join me for Reiki Level 1 certification and training class. Okay, so Usui received Reiki healing energy. But what is it? So Reiki is a special kind of ki, or chi, as you might know, or prana. They all mean life force energy. And this special kind of ki, which, by the way, is the Ki at the end of Reiki, is guided by spiritual consciousness and is defined as spiritually guided life energy. This life energy is so important because everything holds energy, everything holds a vibration. It's the frequency of that vibration that differs. The better you feel, the higher frequency your energy or your ki or your life force energy is. The worse you feel, the lower it is. And so ki, that life force energy within Reiki, flows within your physical body through pathways. These pathways lead to the organs and tissues of the body, as well as the chakras, meridians, nadis, and your aura. So when we have a healthy flow of ki, that's what causes well-being. The ki, that energy, animates the physical organs and the tissues of the body, nourishing and balancing the functions of your systems. Reiki helps to jumpstart your energetic body, as I like to say, which leaves you feeling calm, balanced, and refreshed. Okay, but what does this mean in layman terms? In real life, everyday terms? So first, we're going to break it down to the functions of your bodies, specifically the chakras. Within many spiritual practices, we focus on 7 main chakras within your energy body. They form a line up through your spine, starting at the base of your spine, which is where we call the root, and it goes all the way up to your crown, which is at the top of your head. Each one of these chakras is an energy center for our systems. You can kind of picture them or imagine them as being wheels, and when they're really healthy, the wheels are spinning, they're vibrant, the energy is just flowing around these wheels. And when shit happens in our lives, when we go through traumas, when we're not processing emotions or events properly in a healthy manner, moving on from them, these chakras or wheels get muddy, as I like to say. Of course, they're not actually getting muddy, right? We're using our imagination, but the wheels get muddy, and so they slow down, which then in turn lowers our life force energy, or the health of our life force energy. And eventually, if the problem just keeps building and building, the mud keeps building and building, the chakras just get even slower, or maybe they even stop, and there's a full-on block. I don't typically like to use the word block. A lot of spiritual people, a lot of healers use the word block, so it might be something you've heard before. I usually prefer to say imbalance. When we put the word block on it, it puts this idea that it's going to be very hard to heal that chakra or that area, which may in turn make it harder than it needs to be. So I prefer to use the word imbalance because we can always correct it and go back into balance. Okay, so we have these 7 chakras. We have the root, which is at the base of the spine, Muladhara, which means root support in Sanskrit. When healthy, this energy center is responsible for feelings of safety and support, aligned action. This is where the divine masculine lives. Next, we have the sacral chakra, Svadhisthana, which means seat of the self in Sanskrit. When healthy, this energy center is responsible for creativity and fun, acceptance of change, sexual awareness, grace to sit in your own unique throne, the divine feminine. Next is the solar plexus, also called Manipura in Sanskrit, which means lustrous gem. When healthy, you'll have feelings of dedication and stamina, firmness and resolve, healthy amounts of pride, discipline, courage, unshakable faith. The heart chakra, also known as Anahata, means unhurt, stuck, unbeaten in Sanskrit. When healthy, you're able to fulfill your dharma, your unique way of being, expressing your divinity and vulnerability outside of your wounds. The throat, Vishuddha, means pure in Sanskrit. When healthy, you're able to have short-term, pure expression, moment to moment. You're honest, you're able to express yourself artistically, and you have healthy communication skills. The third eye, or ajna, means monitoring center in Sanskrit. When healthy, you have a disciplined imagination, you have an awareness of your ego, maybe you have psychic abilities, and you're able to acknowledge your collaboration with the universe. And lastly, the crown chakra, or Sahasrara, means thousand-petaled in Sanskrit. When this center is healthy, you can recognize that you are one with the universe. Maybe you have mystical awareness. You're open to expansion even if it doesn't make sense because you have trust. That's a very quick rundown of the chakras and how they play a part in how you show up every day. And I'll warn you, I may have said the Sanskrit words incorrectly, but I do think it's important to include the cultural accurate terms when we're talking about things, especially because it's been so westernized in an industry that is becoming bigger and bigger every day. So note, I may have said the terms incorrectly. I acknowledge that, but I do want to include their cultural roots. Okay, so back to Reiki. So the chakras are important because when I am discussing what the client wants out of their Reiki session, usually just by what they're telling me, what they're experiencing, how they're feeling, I can locate, even before I tune in, what chakra, what energy center needs to be paid attention to. And so what I do as someone being able to channel Reiki energy is I tune into your energy body, I tune into your energy system, so I can channel Reiki through the energy pathways of your body in order to clean up all that gunk that is built up around your chakras and around your system. And I understand that if you are completely new to Reiki, to spirituality outside of religion, that sounds a little wacky. I understand that, and I am okay with that because I have seen the proof of what Reiki can do. The first time I received Reiki, I had read about Reiki. I had read about it in books. I followed a few healers on social media. So it was in my awareness. I was very curious about it. But there was nothing in my life that pushed me further into that world until 2020 hit, and I was experiencing the most debilitating anxiety I've ever felt in my whole life. I literally thought I was going to die. I have a history of chronic illness, and I was like, okay, this is it. Shit's happening in the world that's out of my control. My body is extremely weak. My body is extremely vulnerable, and this is it for me. And there was a Reiki healer I followed that was doing a sale. She was doing it so cheap, and she just wanted people to try it because she understood that people were going through a really hard time. And so I signed up. And that session completely blew me out of the water. It was a virtual session, so we were not in the same room. We weren't even in the same state. When I tell you my perspective shifted completely in the other direction, it really did. I went in, like I said, just terrified that I was going to die. And I remember I woke up the next day and I was like, oh, the sky is blue. Like, I'm here, I'm healthy, like, I can be in control. I just felt so at peace and at home in my body. And it just has this amazing capability to allow you to remember who you are and remember the power that you hold and the control you hold, while instilling this amazing sense of peace and calm and relaxation. It was like suddenly my fight or flight turned off and I could just relax. And on top of that, some Reiki healers, myself included, channel information while they are giving you Reiki. So they're tapping in with their intuition, with their psychic abilities. They're getting a read. Some people are really good at figuring out what's happening like medically with your organs or your body parts. Some are really good at like seeing like future events. Me, myself, I'm really good at like reminding you where your power is. I'm really good about saying, hey, you're doing this thing, you're saying this thing, you're thinking this thing about yourself. It's always very self-centered. You're doing this thing and it's not good for you. It's holding you back. So instead, let's do this other thing. Let's try this thing so you can get out of that pattern that is keeping you stuck. That's kind of like my specialty. And I had never experienced that before, where someone was just telling me this information and I was like, oh, you're right, I do that. Oh, you're right, like I do think that way. And I left that session immediately thinking, I want to do that. 6 months later, I got my training and certification in Holy Fire Reiki Level 1, which is when you learn how to do Reiki on yourself, and Level 2, which is where you learn how to do Reiki on others, in person and at a distance, and even for a business. And with each level you progress as a Reiki healer, the stronger your Reiki energy is, essentially, the stronger your abilities are. It's important to know that there are different kinds of Reiki. Reiki is a form of energy healing, but not all energy is Reiki. There's different divisions of energy healing. The two I know the most about is Usui Reiki, which is what Mikao Usui discovered on the mountain, right? We talked about that at the beginning of this episode. He discovered Usui Reiki. That's what they called it. In 2014, William Lee Rand developed a newer, evolved version of Usui Reiki called Holy Fire Reiki, which is what I practice. Usui Reiki is a form of energy healing, a form of Reiki that is dependent on the spiritual work and awareness that the teacher or practitioner has done to themselves or on themselves. So someone who is attuned to Usui Reiki does more of the work, right, involved with the healing that they're doing rather than channeling it. And they can get more easily fatigued when administering the Reiki. In Holy Fire Reiki, again, that's the one I practice. So the practitioner, the teacher, the master transfers the Holy Fire Reiki energy directly from spiritual consciousness to the client without it being dependent on their own journey or experiences. It's essentially more strong and pure. And because it's a channeled healing, the practitioner, the person working on you, their energies are not part of the session and are not depleted. So Usui Reiki is dependent on how evolved the practitioner is. It's dependent on how much work they've done, and it also can be very draining on their energy. Holy Fire Reiki, the practitioner, the master, is just kind of like the bridge. They're just saying, okay, Reiki energy, you need to go here. They're just kind of like the what are they called? The traffic coordinator. And because of that, the energy is stronger. There's no middleman. It's more pure. And the practitioner channeling it doesn't get fatigued like they do with Usui Reiki. Okay, so what does receiving Reiki do to your body? We already talked a little bit about how it affects the chakras. You know, we clear out all the mud that is happening, that is building up within the gears of your chakras. But like, what does that mean to you, right? The benefits of Reiki are vast. They're really catered specifically to your needs and your energy at the time of your treatment. And you can even set the intention to allow the Reiki to work towards specific goals that you're working for. Or maybe you want to work on your thyroid. Maybe your thyroid is giving you some trouble, and you can intend for the Reiki to help you with that. Maybe you want to work on money blocks. Maybe you want to improve the relationships in your life. You can direct the Reiki to help with specific things. And there's also been proven scientific benefits to receiving Reiki treatments. There are several hospitals across the states that are using Reiki for their patients on their healing journeys, like people who are receiving cancer treatments, people who are recovering and going through surgery. Reiki is becoming more widely known and accepted because of the results that people feel. So proven benefits of Reiki treatments are increased sense of overall well-being, feelings of safety, being grounded. People feel an improved quality of life. They feel centered within themselves. You've probably heard that Reiki induces calm and relaxation. That's a big one. It can help with pain relief. It can improve your quality of sleep, decrease anxiety, give you a positive mindset while improving your mood. It improves your self-efficacy for coping. It can reduce nausea. It can give you a healthy appetite. And it's been shown signs to improve shortness of breath. Other known benefits are dissolving energy blocks, those imbalances and tensions. It can help detoxify the body. It can stimulate your immune system, stimulate the tissues and bones after injury or surgery. It increases the vibrational frequency that you have on physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual levels. It increases your intuition. It helps you find your autonomy and authenticity, and it can help improve your relationships and your ability to set healthy boundaries. Because of the undeniable benefits of Reiki, even though you can't physically see it, you will start to see Reiki more and more in your community, even in traditional medical facilities, like I said. Facilities like Yale New Haven Hospital, Cleveland Clinic, New York Presbyterian Hospital, the Harvard Cancer Center, and so many more are including Reiki within their treatment plan for their patients because it is undeniable that it helps. Because it helps so much, I always introduce people new to Reiki, and tell them at the very least, they will feel calm and relaxed, more calm than they ever felt before. I've had several people who I've given Reiki to, they wake up, they come back in the present, and they'll be like, I feel like I just got a massage, or I've never been so relaxed in my whole life. That is the first and very first thing that people will notice, but the effects go so much more deeper than that. And you may feel the results of your Reiki treatment immediately when we're done. It may be a slow onset in the coming days or even weeks. And there can even be a detoxifying effect period once you're complete with your Reiki treatment. It doesn't happen often. Some people will get a headache or a stomach ache. That is just the gunky energy still leaving your system. And sometimes that can feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it doesn't last long. I always encourage people, once they're complete with their session with me, to drink lots of water. Detox tea like dandelion does wonderfully at detoxifying your system. Rest and sleep is always very, very important. And just honoring what your body needs. If you don't have an appetite, that's okay. Just honor it until your body is fully recovered from the energy healing you received. Or if you are hungry, make sure you're eating food that is really going to nourish your system. That's so important. Speaking of, I don't hear a lot of healers talk about this, but the work after an energy healing that you do on your own is equally, if not more important than the work that we do together. Now, I will preface by saying that not every energy healer works the same, and that's okay. That's one of the most amazing things about working as an energy healer, because it is an intuitive and intention-based practice. You can really make it work for you and your work style, your preferences. You can use it to play on your skills. And so it's a practice that you can really customize, but that means that not every healer works the same way. So Reiki on its own just means that me as the Reiki master, the Reiki practitioner, is channeling Reiki energy into your system and kind of clearing it out, right? And then the Reiki healing is done. I do a little bit more than that because I am a good channeler. I am receiving information the entire time I'm giving you Reiki regarding your energy system, your energy body, how you are showing up in your life, so I can tell you things to help you on your path, to help you on your journey. It's never anything that is filled with ego or judgment. It's all really coming from a place of love, so you can move forward in full choice while using the effects of Reiki, that calm, that relaxation, that positive mindset, to your advantage as you move forward. So if you are receiving Reiki and the person only does Reiki, they're not channeling, right? This doesn't really apply because I'm not them. But in my sessions, the homework, the follow-up that you do as the client is so important. Because if I say, hey, you need to start trusting the universe more because I can feel your fear is so deeply ingrained. You're afraid to trust. You're afraid to even envision a better future because you're so scared that it's not going to come to you. And I'll say that by you allowing that fear to overtake everything in your life, you are repelling any of those good things that you do secretly want that you're not really paying attention to. You're repelling them away because your energy is saying, nope, 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 it's not going to happen. That's not for me. There's not a chance in the world that I would be so blessed, even though secretly you really, really want it, right? And so I'll say, you need to have some trust in the universe. The universe is here to provide for you. You can't keep thinking worst case scenario over and over every single day. And it's that mindset that originally got that chakra, your energy body, your energy system, kind of gunky in the first place. And so the homework is to pull yourself out of that every single day, to rewrite the thoughts. Because if you don't do the follow-up afterwards, if you don't do the care afterwards, if you don't take responsibility with aligned action afterwards, you're going to end up in the exact same spot that you were before you met with me for your Reiki session. I often equate it to like when you park your car in the garage, right? And you leave the light on inside the car, and then you go in the house, you lock the door, and you go to bed. And then you come out in the morning, and then your car won't start because you left the light on and the battery is dead. You can jumpstart your car, but if you keep parking your car in the garage and leaving the light on inside, your car is going to keep going dead. The battery is going to keep dying. It's that aligned action. It's the choice. It's the ability to say, oh, no, I got to shut that light off or my battery is going to die. It's the follow-up that keeps the battery running. It's the follow-up that keeps up that high vibrational life force energy that we just kind of like re-energized at the Reiki session. If we go back to the worst case scenario, the universe isn't going to take care of me scenario, I can get you feeling good after our Reiki session. I can instill feelings of trust that day, sense of being taken care of, that calm and relaxation we always talk about with Reiki. I can tell you like, hey, you can't be thinking that way. Like, I know why you're thinking that way. I understand where you're coming from. But little bit by little bit, day after day, you need to try to stop those thoughts as they're happening, those fearful thoughts, and rewrite it to, what if something else could happen? What if something better could happen? What if I could have more? Because if you don't rewrite those thoughts, your energy is going to go right back where it was before. Your car battery is going to die. Healing is an incredibly personal and vulnerable experience, and you deserve to be held with empathy and care while being guided through your journey. And that's why I got into this work. That's why I became a Reiki healer. That's why I'm able to see what I see and feel what I feel and experience what I experience as I'm channeling your energy. So I can walk you through those hard to look at pieces of yourself and show you a different way with empathy, right? With non-judgment. If you would like to experience Reiki for yourself, virtually or one-on-one with me in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, visit oftheether.com. And I'll mention that I also launched 2 new offerings to help bring Reiki to larger groups of people at once. The first one is Reiki in the workplace, which is where Reiki becomes part of the wellness package for your workplace. We can work on Reiki as a group with a healing meditation experience, or we can work one-on-one depending on what your company chooses, either for wellness days, for company retreats, appreciation gifts, or just an extra health benefit. The other offering I have that's brand new is Community Healing Hour, kind of a play on happy hour, which is a way that we nurture your community with an event where the vibes are high. So I'm thinking fitness studios, coffee shops, boutiques, healing circles, or online membership communities where we meet as a group. This could be in person or virtually, but we do a group Reiki meditation healing experience, which is kind of like a blend between a part guided meditation, part Reiki healing. It's an amazing experience where it's common for people to receive their own intuitive insight through their own intuition while they are participating within the meditation experience. It's one of my favorite things in the whole world. If you want to learn more about either one of those options, visit oftheether.com/partner. That's all I have for you today. Be well.